keep that separate from business. But today we're starting to inject that a little bit more. Is that something that you do with your business with LifeFlip as far as
Absolutely.
systems? Okay.
Yeah. I put a lot of how I was raised into my business. Family first, obviously.
Right.
But, it's all, I always tell people, I just did a live feed last night on this. You got to be the same person you are running your business as you are outside of your business. You can't live two lives. It's impossible as a business owner, as a true CEO. The best CEOs that I know in America that I've had the pleasure of meeting, they're very authentic. They're the same person outside of work as they are in work. And I think that's what you have to be. And you have to hold those values. And you have to hold your values true. Don't just say it just to say it. You have to go out and do it. And you have to get through a lot of noise. I think one of the big things that I always have told people is there's going to be people out there. I think one of my favorite quotes that's out there is, people may be cheering you now, but they're dying. They're just really dying to boo you too. So I think that's a big thing to remember is don't worry about those folks that are out there. Yeah, they'll cheer you. They'll hate you 1 minute. It's the same thing as sales, right? 0 to hero and hero to zero and no time flat. So I think that's, I hold those mottos true in my head. Don't worry about it. And, don't let people have space. I said this in an interview, I think a couple weeks ago. Don't let people have space up here. If they're not paying for it, they don't get to rate it. So it's a motto that I've held, as an adult growing up, same thing. I tell my kids the same thing. Who cares? Words? Ooh, somebody doesn't like you on Facebook? Don't lose sleep over it. They're not paying you. Who cares? It's Facebook. You can block people. You can turn them off and they mean nothing. They're not your family. If they pay you, then it's different if they don't like you. And even then, it's not that important.
Yeah, I certainly agree 100% there. We put too much value in that, and it becomes head trash. It's stuff that takes up real estate in our head that doesn't belong there, and then we start questioning ourselves because of somebody else. And I could get on a soapbox about that one, but so what's something earlier in your life that you wish you had done? Do you have any, I wouldn't say regrets, but anything that you wish you would have done that you did not do?
No. When I got out, I did what every good Marine does, and I went to go get in law enforcement. Went to the Sacramento Sheriff's Academy. Got done with that. Became a reserve officer. Got frustrated. I got stuck in the jails. That's where they stick you when you're a deputy sheriff and you're a rookie. You spend like 2 years in jail. I didn't like it, and I basically walked away from it. Just like, I'm done playing. I don't want to do this. This isn't fun. I don't know if it was, maybe I was still having some, burn back from being in a uniform of, the military all the time. I think you do reach a point where it's like, yeah, I love the purpose of the military, but the enlisted green weenie games, they get boring and they follow you into life. So you follow into a uniform role, and we're great. Maybe I should have stayed in there because I absolutely just love our first responders. But at the end of the day, I always wonder, should I have been a firefighter? Because I'm always enthralled by that. But I don't regret where I'm at now, but maybe if I would have stuck that out a little bit longer. I always hate things that don't work. So perfectionism.
So kind of leaning a little bit more towards the personal end of the spectrum, just a little bit. What hurdles did you have to face when transitioning out of the service? That's obviously something that all of us that have been in, we have our struggles. What kind of hurdles did you face, and how did you handle those?
There was really 0 programs to help with the transition. For me, I think I brought it up earlier, but when I transitioned into the Silicon Valley, and I was working basically saying that you were in the military was a weird thing because they were like, the military? What did you do? How many people did you kill? The normal questions that we all get asked, because that's the second question too. You served. If you say you were in the Army or the Marine Corps, you're guaranteed to get the follow-up question, how many people have you killed? It's just special in our two branches that we're just respected so much that apparently we all kill people. Even chefs. Even the cook is killing people. Everybody's killing people. But the transition is there's no assistance, right? There was literally, you felt like you were on a deserted island, and you have to go figure it out for yourself. That was the hardest part for the transition, is No one really to help you with the job transition. They still do it to this day. They're still lying about how easy it is to get out and have a job. The recruiters are going to bow down to you because on your resume it says you were in the United States Marine Corps, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever branch you were in, you served your country. That technically doesn't really, back in the day, definitely didn't mean much to recruiters. I'm still seeing the same things coming out from a lot of recruiters is they're not taking those steps to understand what it means. And, being humble, just because you have a little bit of rank doesn't mean that you're going to walk into a management position in a company. I see that and hear that all the time. I was a couple of months ago talking to a lieutenant colonel, 27 years in the United States Marine Corps. And he was struggling with thinking he was going to come out of the Corps and just get into some like senior management position at a global, 2000 company. That's not so. He was like employed, 528, right? He wasn't Lieutenant Colonel, blah, blah, blah,
yeah.
who had all these people working for him. He was just Joe Nobody who had to show up at work. So I think that's one thing. My transition was really, it was devastating. It was hard. There was a lot of depression in it because, showing up, and I remember interview after interview being told no. And I finally stopped telling people I was in to get a job. I put down that I went to college, and I would bring it up, and they're like, so what did you do for the last, several years? I was like, I was in the military, and I want to work. And that's how I got into tech, was an entry level job. But I wasn't getting anywhere saying I was in the military. It just meant nothing. So the recruiters really didn't care. So I went to a temp agency, got a full-time job, a job I spent several years at. So it worked out well.
Yeah, my transition very similar. Early 90s, is like when you got out, there's no services there. So they cut you loose, slap you on the butt, send you on your way, and that was pretty much it.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yeah. So, Now, when you were starting LifeFlip Media, kind of talk me through how you got started on that. Where did that come from?
Awesome. I probably mentioned way too many times. Besides saying I'm a Marine one too many times, spent a lot of years working in tech. We reached a point where we were done spending our time at the last company that acquired us. So all of my senior leadership had left to kind of go on their own way. So I seriously contemplated, how am I going to make a difference? What am I going to do? I don't want to be here by myself. It's weird. Everybody I hung out with, went to lunch with, and now they were all gone and they were new faces. You know how it is when you're in the fleet, you're like the same way. You don't want new faces. So I sat down, started jotting down a business plan, coming up with an idea. Started off as a consultant doing, PR and media and digital marketing as a consultant for really small startups. And saw that we were gaining some traction there, and then turned it into LifeFlip Media, where I went, grabbed a buddy of mine who I had been mentoring and said, hey, you want to run our social media? And started doing that and turned it into what it is today. A lot of conversations, a lot of false starts, as I like to say, a lot of time spent as a consultant, and then turned it into the veteran side. When I sat there, I saw a great article. I believe it was a Forbes article or an Inc. article where the top 25 veteran businesses in America. I think it was like 2-3 years ago. And I looked at that and I said, I want to work with those folks. I bet I could help them. And I started down from the top of the list, and I've ended up working with quite a few of them on that list. And it's been great. I mean, it's come full circle where we're now back working with a lot of tech companies and working with a lot of Fortune 500 companies. So it's been funny. I started off wanting to get away from that, started working with veterans, and they've circled right back around. So it's pretty cool because now we're working with them to help them understand the veteran business and really be the go-between and the intermediary for them to go between. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's an important space because they don't speak our lingo and we don't want to speak theirs, and so having someone in between is certainly a valuable resource. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, what compelled you to go into media though? Was that just sort of a?
I love the challenge of it. It's really unique. It's hard. If you've ever been in sales and you get told no a lot, welcome to media. It's even worse because you could pitch every day and get told no. I mean, I spent 2.5 years calling networks every week, getting told no, and then I finally got a break and was able to start putting people on, which was amazing. I remember the day that it happened, and now they call me when they want people on. And but yeah, media, I just always found the challenge in it. I love marketing. I've spoken at many conferences, and that's fun. And I love digital marketing, and I love talking about it and social media and how to use paid media. Marketing is always fun, but putting people in the media is cool because the power of media, it takes it back to those original layers of what makes marketing fun. So to me, media, PR, marketing, they're all one under that. And I combine them into sales because I'm always a sales guy. And you put all those together. And marketing is a constant, pitching media sucks. It's hard. You get told no a lot. You're not interested. And try pitching veteran brands to the media. Half the time they don't want to talk to you because, oh, you're too violent. Those people are violent. Or they go look at their Facebook and they won't run ads on them. Because, the stuff they put on Facebook. So it's a lot of teaching people, hey, you can't put that on there. And it becomes very political. I try to stay out of that because where I sit politically, I don't like to be involved in it. My grandfather always taught me, stay out of politics and religion when you're in a public space. So apparently Facebook hasn't been given that briefing from my grandfather. Unfortunately, he passed before Facebook. If he was around, I'm sure he would be that old guy on there like, y'all violating like the code from back in the day. Like you're not supposed to talk about these two things. But,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that one. And I love to break them also. So sometimes I'll talk religion and politics on Facebook, but hey.
I try not to.
I probably should get a lot less arguments started. Is there a profession other than what you're currently doing that you'd like to try out sometime?
No, I'm too old now. I don't want to do it. No, nothing else. Nothing. No. I'm too old now. I don't want to do anything else. I like this. Cool. I'm happy on my side of that. Yeah.
So if you're kind of thinking about your character traits, what would you say your greatest strength is, Eric?
I have the gift of gab. I think anybody who knows me will say that. I can talk to anybody. I am not afraid to talk to just about anybody. I love talking to people. Talk forever. I have to remind myself. I have a note when I'm being interviewed for like networks. I actually have a note on my desk that says "Shut up, dummy," because I should answer. You should answer. If you're ever talking to the media, you should always have 30-second answers. I usually fail. Podcasts, I fail miserably. I talk for like 5 straight minutes. That's why you're interviewing me, right? That's why it's a podcast. It's not a live interview. Live interview, you have 2 minutes. So, yes.
Yeah, you have like a whole hour to gab, so that's cool. So what would you say your greatest weakness is then?
Doubt, self-doubt. It's always doubting like my strength. Like, is this the right way? It's like this amazing, it like overtakes you, right? You're always afraid to fail. And instead of believing in what you're doing, sometimes you're like, crap, this is all going to go away. And instead of having like faith and having complete faith in yourself, you can doubt yourself. And sometimes I let that take up some space inside my head that it shouldn't be there. It's something that I'm working on. Taking a meditation. I do yoga. Go ahead and make fun of me. But those are all things to kind of get out of my own head. I think I spend too much time talking about it. So some things I've cut back on are being on Facebook. I think a lot of it's too much social media. And, the quick fix for me has been spending more time with my family. So that's what I do. I spend a lot of time doing that or reading. That's why I actually have hardcore books now. Like I can physically touch them because I put my phone down, right? Because if you have Audible or a Kindle, you're still holding your iPad. What are you going to do when you're reading? All of a sudden you get a notification. And you're like, ooh, I need to go see. Then you put a book in there. There's no notifications.
That's true. So is there a special place that you go to get your ideas? Do your brainstorming?
It's going to